Welcome to Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. Our team's goal is to present science-based information about gardening and all things nature in New York's Hudson Valley. Hosts Jean and Tim, along with team members Teresa and Linda, are Master Gardener volunteers for New York's Columbia and Greene counties. So if you're interested in gardening or nature, or nuggets of information about what's happening outside your door, settle in. Enjoy the conversation. Whatever the season, we have something to say.
I'm Tim Kennelty.
And I'm Jean Thomas.
And welcome to another episode of Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. Who are we talking to today, Jean?
Devon.
Yeah, the big myth, right? Myth about mulch, right?
Yep. She's talking about hits and myths, and she's
Yep.
going to talk about the monstrous mythology behind mulch.
Is there mythology behind mulch?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people think it cures everything. Just
Really?
plop a bunch of
Yeah,
mulch
I know a
on
lot
it.
of people who are mulch like lunatics, right?
Some of them even use that red
Yeah.
mulch.
Yeah, or black mulch, really bad.
Black is okay.
Well, I don't like either one, but she is going to talk about some myths about mulch, right?
Yes, and among which is to avoid using plastic.
Yep. So whether you hate it or love it, you're going to want to listen in to hear that.
Absolutely.
Also on today's show, we have Pests and Pathogens.
Dede and Jackie will be back.
And they're going to be talking about powdery mildew. I hate powdery mildew, don't you?
Oh, it's ubiquitous.
And they start seeing it on your plants, on phlox and on Menardis and things like that sometime in July, and it just isn't a great thing. So they're going to talk about that, and we're going to hear about how to deal with it.
Yeah, because it always shows up when we're not really able to go treat it right away.
And also on today's episode, we have tools of the trade. What are we talking about today, Jane?
Oh, the Missouri Botanical Plant Finder.
One of my favorite sources. It's a great source if you have a plant, you just want to know the culture of that plant and how to deal with that plant, yes?
They're beautifully written, they're wonderfully illustrated, and they come out of the Missouri Botanical Garden, which is one of the most fabulous places.
And you know what my favorite thing is? They give a pronunciation of the Latin name. If you press the button, you can hear someone say the Latin name, so we don't sound so ignorant. This should be an interesting episode. Stay tuned.
Hello, this is Devon Russ. I'm a Master Gardener volunteer with Columbia and Greene counties, and I'm here with another episode of Hits and Myths. Today I'm going to talk about myths about mulch. Anyone who looks at garden magazines has seen articles about how important it is to add mulch to your garden. And certainly when you drive around and look at professionally landscaped areas, you can see lots of bark or stone mulch in different colors and textures. Does this mean that it's always good to add mulch? Mulching can improve conditions for growing plants, and some mulches are good looking. But there can be drawbacks too. So how do you get the benefits without the drawbacks? First, it's good to know what you want mulch to do in your garden. There are 3 common things that mulch will do very well. First, it can cover the soil to keep weeds from sprouting. Second, it can hold in moisture and keep the top layer of the soil from drying out. And third, it can be a decorative element in your garden. There's a fourth benefit, too, if you use mulch with organic materials. The mulch will decompose and add nutrients to the soil and help support a healthy community of soil organisms. When I say organic mulch, I mean organic in the sense that it comes from living things, not organic in the sense of pesticide-free, although that's a good thing, too. Wood chips, sheets of cardboard, bark nuggets, and straw are all organic mulches. Decorative gravel, plastic sheets, shredded rubber, and landscape fabric are inorganic mulches. Organic mulches need to be renewed regularly by adding a bit more each year. You can make your organic mulch work longer at suppressing weeds by spreading it over a layer of paper or cardboard. Because the paper or cardboard are in sheets, they really keep out the light and don't allow the germination of weed seeds until they've been in place long enough to decompose. Inorganic mulches can work well for several seasons with no maintenance, but with time, they will become less effective because there will be weeds that sprout above the plastic layer, or through tears in the landscape fabric. And beware, inorganic, in this sense, means that these mulches will never decompose. If you put down plastic sheeting or landscape fabric, it will be there until you pick it up and dispose of it. I used landscape fabric in my vegetable garden once 30 years ago, and I still find scraps of the stuff whenever I dig a planting hole. The downsides of mulch are that it can be expensive. It can also be a lot of work to spread it around. And if you have highly visible decorative mulch, there can be some added work to keep it looking good. For example, you might use a favorite hoe to remove small weeds in your vegetable garden, but you might have to hand pull weeds from your decorative pebble mulch, because the hoe would knock the pebbles around and leave the bed looking dirty. So before you invest money or time spreading mulch, you should ask yourself which of the benefits you want in your garden. If you want the garden by your front door to look beautifully maintained, that would be a good place to invest in the kind of mulch that you think looks best, even if it will take some extra work to maintain it. On the other hand, if you're spreading mulch in your vegetable garden to suppress weeds, you probably don't care so much what it looks like. That might be a good place to use mulch material that you can get for free, or something like plastic sheeting that will be very effective at suppressing weeds. Some people think that if some mulch is good, more must be better. Not true. It's best to keep a layer of loose mulch, like gravel or wood chips, less than 3 inches thick. That thickness will help suppress weed seedlings, but will not smother the roots of your garden plants. There's a lot of life in good soil, and those living things need oxygen. If you pile mulch on too thick, you cut down on the movement of oxygen from the air into the soil. That can change the mix of living things in your soil in ways that are bad for your garden. Reduced oxygen can also directly slow the growth of your plantings. Think about oxygen exchange if you use inorganic mulches too. Plastic sheeting is great for suppressing weeds, but if you cover a wide area, that would really change the nature of life in your soil underneath the plastic. Instead, it might be best to use plastic in strips alongside your plants, with neighboring rows or paths that are uncovered and allow oxygen into the soil. Other problems can be caused by having too thick a layer of wood chips or bark mulch. The roots of your plantings might grow right into a thick layer of moist organic mulch. But if the mulch layer later dries out, those roots will die. And when a thick pile of wood mulch does dry out, it gets hard to wet it again, and it will even shed water. That means that the first rain after a dry spell gets shed off to the edges of the mulch pile and doesn't go straight down to the roots. Thick natural mulches also make good hiding place for mice and voles. If you are mulching young trees, you should keep the layer of mulch about 3 inches thick and leave some space right around the trunk, so voles don't travel under the mulch to eat the sapling bark. Keeping the mulch layer away from directly touching the bark or stems of your plantings will also help prevent fungal diseases. Will wood mulches attract termites to your house? The answer is no, but termites will not travel from the surrounding area to come eat your mulch. But termites do like the condition of steady soil moisture created by mulch. That's what your garden plants like too, and that's probably why you put down mulch. So if wandering termites find a mulched area with steady moisture, they are more likely to stay and make nests. More termites are found under mulch than under bare soil. This is true for gravel mulch as well as for wood mulch, which shows that mulch is not attracting termites because it is food for them. So when you spread mulch, you should leave bare the area within about a foot of your house. That will avoid making the area around your house hospitable for termites. Also, you can choose a mulch made from cedar, which repels insects, including termites. If you go with a cedar, make sure the mulch label said it is actually made from cedar wood. Other kinds of wood are often dyed red to make a less expensive mulch with the look of cedar. Will wood chips or bark chips as mulch interfere with the growth of your plants by pulling nitrogen out of your soil? Soil microorganisms do need nitrogen and will get nitrogen from bark mulch or wood chips, but that would only be a problem for your plantings if you dug the wood chips into the soil. If an organic mulch is spread on the surface, only microorganisms right at the surface can feed on it. Your desirable plants have roots that go deep under the surface, so they will not be in competition for the same nitrogen source. In general, mulching is great for keeping your plants and your soil healthy. Just remember to plan for some maintenance. Nothing will keep weeds away forever, and just because some mulch is good does not mean that more would be better. Thank you for listening. This is Devon Russ with Hits and Myths.
You're listening to Nature Calls, conversations from the Hudson Valley. Stay tuned for Pests and Pathogens.
Welcome to Garden Pests and Pathogens. I'm Dede Terns-Thorpe, and I'm here with
Jackie Hayden.
We're Columbia and Greene County Master Gardener volunteers, and today we'll be talking with you about a very common fungal disease often found in the Hudson Valley.
Would that be powdery mildew?
You've got it. Powdery mildew is a disease caused by many different types of fungi. It first appears as a whitish-gray powdery coating on the surface of plants.
It doesn't normally kill the plant, though, does it?
Infection is rarely lethal, but may result in slower than normal growth and distorted leaves, turning them yellow or brown before they eventually fall off the plant. The fungus spreads by spores that are carried on the wind or through physical contact. Unlike other fungal diseases, powdery mildew can develop in dry weather, although it tends to be more severe in wet weather.
Dede, does this develop quickly?
It does. Powdery mildew can develop quite quickly, taking only 3 to 7 days between infection and the appearance of symptoms. Many overlapping infection cycles can occur within a single growing season.
Doesn't it start early in the growing season?
Yes, it actually is more active on plants from mid-spring to early fall. It thrives in areas with warm days and cool nights or in very humid climates. Shady, damp areas in the garden are particularly susceptible. Look for the disease in places where sunshine is blocked by trees, buildings, or fences, and where the soil drains poorly. Once the disease is a problem, avoid late summer applications of fertilizer.
What about the trees? Does it bother them?
With a few exceptions, like apple trees, most trees are not affected by powdery mildew. Powdery mildew on most deciduous trees does little damage and does not require chemical treatments.
Then what does it really attack?
Rather, flowers and shrubs are more likely to be attacked by the fungus. Azaleas, phlox, roses, zinnias, peonies, lilacs, begonias, blueberries, cantaloupe, peas, grapes, and raspberries are all examples of plants that can be affected.
How do you control powdery mildew?
Control begins with the selection of plants resistant to powdery mildew. To also help prevent powdery mildew, however, locate sensitive plants such as lilacs or roses in sunny, dry sites. Allow proper plant spacing, as good air circulation also helps. Consider pruning any affected shrubs that were affected by mildew to allow air to reach as much of the plant as possible. But make sure to clean and disinfect your tools once you have finished pruning.
How do you minimize the chance of a repeat attack?
Well, if you rake up and remove the plant debris that can harbor fungal spores, it'll help a lot.
Do you put that in the compost pile?
Make sure you dispose of the debris in the trash, not in your compost pile. This is essential because the spores can survive over winter. Consider removing plants that repeatedly experience serious mildew attacks and replace them with more resistant varieties.
What if these methods don't work for you?
Well, you could spray with horticultural oil or a registered fungicide that is used to combat powdery mildew, but always read and follow the directions on the label for usage and application information.
Do you only have to do this just once?
Note that some may have to be reapplied every 7 to 10 days. By taking a few simple precautions, you can successfully protect your plants from powdery mildew damage. Thank you for listening to Garden Pests and Pathogens.
This is Jackie Hayden and Dede Terns-Thorpe, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the gardens.
You're listening to Nature Calls, conversations from the Hudson Valley. Stay tuned for Tools of the Trade.
Hi, and welcome to Tools of the Trade, a recurring segment of this podcast that highlights a website, app, or book that we master gardeners find to be an essential resource. I'm Joan Satterley, a master gardener volunteer with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene counties. So, do you ever find yourself Googling a plant that you just saw in your neighbor's garden and are wondering whether it will grow in shade, or when it blooms, or if it will be eaten by the deer? Or maybe you're in the garden center and want to know if that beautiful tree will really grow in Zone 5 in clay soil under a black walnut tree. Or maybe you're planting a new garden and you want a list of plants that are attractive to butterflies and hummingbirds, but not to rabbits. Well, you're in luck, because I have a handy and free tool for you, the Missouri Botanical Garden Plant Finder. Never mind that you don't garden in the show me state. I guarantee you're going to love this super easy to use web tool. Why am I recommending a garden site from a botanical garden that's nowhere near the Hudson Valley? I first became aware of this tool as I was doing regular Google searches for particular plants. Whether I searched for a plant by its Latin name, for instance, Monarda fistulosa, or its common name, wild bergamot, I always received a link in my first few set of search results to the plant's listing in the Missouri Botanical Garden Plant Finder. The people who built this nifty site obviously did something right in terms of search engine optimization. But besides this being a site that obviously has thousands of plant listings, I found out later it's close to 8,000, the plant descriptions are incredibly well organized, concise, and helpful. Each plant entry begins with a photo and the Latin name of the plant, and no more stumbling over plant names, because when you click on the name, you get a recorded voice pronouncing the Latin name. Each plant description is concise, informative, and consistent. For every plant, you are always going to see a list of 17 different attributes. So, you will see the plant's common name, its family, its native range, and the zone it can be grown in. You will also see descriptors such as height and width, as well as bloom time and bloom description. In addition, the listing includes its sun, water, and maintenance needs, as well as its suggested uses. Finally, the description includes a few words about its flowers and leaves, what it attracts, and what conditions or animals it tolerates. In addition to the list of attributes, each listing also includes a few sentences on the plant's culture, noteworthy characteristics, problems, and uses. I find these one-page, concise, and consistent plant entries incredibly helpful when I am interested in getting a quick overview of a plant or am deciding between two or more different plants to include in my garden. But the plant finder is so much more, because each plant is tagged with so many individual characteristics. If you go to the site's homepage, it is easy to do a refined search for plants with very specific cultural needs, attributes, and tolerances. If I limit my search, for instance, to a plant with fragrant flowers, showy fruit, is rabbit resistant, and attracts butterflies, I get 6 results. including wax myrtle and clove currant. The fact that the site allows you to mix and match multiple characteristics in your search makes it an incredibly useful tool for creating a new flower bed or choosing a tree with very specific needs and attributes. So, next time Missouri Botanical Garden comes up in your search results, don't pass it by. This may just be the plant finding resource you've been dreaming of. That's it for this edition of Tools of the Trade. Until next time, I'm Joan Satterley.
That concludes another episode of Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. We would like to thank Sandra Linnell and Devon Connolly from Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene counties for production support. And a special thank you to our listeners for joining us on this episode of Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. You can find links to any of the topics mentioned in this episode at our website at ccecolumbiagreene.org. Comments and suggestions for future topics may be directed to us at columbiagreenemgv@cornell.edu or on the CCE Master Gardener Volunteers of Columbia and Greene Counties Facebook page. For more information about Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene Counties, visit our website at ccecolumbiagreene.org or visit us in Hudson or in Acre. Cornell Cooperative Extension provides equal programming and employment opportunities